Hi there, my beautiful subscribers. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're not subscribed, then kindly click on the subscribe button and the notification button to get updated about when I post. So, this is my astrological update for the upcoming full moon in Aries. We have quite interesting astrological alignments as we are leading to the full moon, definitely. And if you ask me, this is a Martian full moon. Okay, the full moon is ruled by Mars, and moon is not comfortable in a sign like Aries because the moon is nocturnal. Aries is diurnal. Moon is cold and moist. Aries is very hot. So there is really not a lot of similarities between Aries and the moon. So the moon is not comfortable in Aries, okay? Now this is happening at about 9 degrees 8 minutes. So it's happening in the first decan of Aries, and the first decan of Aries belongs to Mars by Aries Triplicity. Okay, I'll get to that later. So I do not suggest any kind of surgical procedures during this Aries full moon that's coming up on 1st of October. Mars rules the face, head and brains. So you can expect all things here to be very, very susceptible. Any problems could be inflamed, okay? For instance, headaches, teeth, problems with teeth, plaque, or bleeding gums and all of that can be very exacerbated. Tongue, the whole health of your body can be determined by the coloration of your tongue. So that's also very interesting. Take care of your tongue. It needs to be scrubbed and cleaned, not harshly, very, very softly. Okay, striated muscles, the penis, because Mars also rules the penis, and the gallbladder. Okay, so all of these organs are going to be extremely tender because the moon is on these organs, right? If you do not understand medical astrology, you can look up my videos. I've made tons of them on what makes you sick. Okay, the 12 signs. If you go by your rising, you will know what makes you sick. Now, where are we? What do we mean by a full moon? The full moon happens when the sun and the moon are in opposition, as in they are in opposite signs. So the sun, as this lunation is about to go exact, happens to be in the cardinal air sign of Libra, ruled by Venus, okay, at about 9 degrees 8 minutes. And the moon is in the polarity of Aries, ruled by Mars. So the sun has this very feminine influence over him because it's Venus we're talking about, and the moon, who's feminine, has a masculine influence on her, that is Mars that we are talking about. Okay, now basically both these planets have no dignity because the sun is exalted in the astrological sign of Aries. So that makes Libra a position of fall for the sun. Okay, where the sun cannot express himself very profoundly. And if you really look at it, Libra happens to be the sign about us. And the sun is about me and individuation. So therein lies the archetypal difference in between the sun and Libra, So the sun is in fall. Now today is the day of the sun. It's Sunday. That's why I wore red, because the Martian moon that we're talking about, the color of Mars is red. His day is Tuesday. But it's very fine to do anything related to Mars even on Sunday, because the sun, especially if it has to do with Aries, workings of Aries, because the sun is exalted in Aries. So now going back to the sun and the moon having no essential dignity. So they are not very powerful in the skies right now, okay? Now, where is Mercury? Mercury during this lunation has just slipped into Scorpio. In fact, as we speak, Mercury's gone into Scorpio, right? And Mercury will be at about 4 degrees 48 minutes of Scorpio. So first decan of Scorpio, again ruled by Mars through Scorpio triplicity. Okay, anyway, Mars is the nocturnal ruler of all water signs. Okay, and I love the vibe of Mars in Scorpio, if you ask me the truth. And for me, Mercury going into Scorpio is very profound, because Mercury happens to be my ascendant lord. So, you know, it's very profound when Mercury goes into Scorpio, which happens to be my 3rd house. So for you also, Scorpio will be a particular house. And Mercury going in is probably going to impact the planets you have in Scorpio. Okay. Now, so we've got Venus. Okay, Venus is going to play a very key role in this lunation, and she's at 2850 of Leo. The last decan of Leo, and 2850, interestingly, my Saturn happens to be a 29 of Leo. So during this lunation, Venus will be conjunct my natal Saturn. Very, very interesting. And this the Sabian symbol of Venus, I think 28 Leo, is a mermaid. Okay, and I got this mermaid tattooed on my right leg like ages ago. It's a very shabby tattoo I got done, but you know, it's very archetypal. I also have this moon in Pisces, so you know, the myths of mermaid and merman are very, very interesting to me. So we've got Mars is the domicile ruler. As I explained to you, this is an Aries full moon, and Mars happens to be retrograde in Aries, not conjunct exactly, because the moon happens to be in the first decan, and the Mars is in the last decan, 24 degrees retrograde. All right, and Mars retrograde in Aries is definitely a time of volatility. You know, fires are huge at this time. Okay, so now Chiron is something I wanted to mention here. Chiron is also in Aries. Chiron is in 7 degrees of Aries, so about 2 degrees away from the lunation, which does make it conjunct, right? And not to forget, Black Moon Lilith is also in Aries at about 49 degrees of Aries. 49 degrees of Aries. Okay. So now let us look at the elemental balance of all the planets, right, during this lunation. So we've got 9 elemental bodies, 9 planetary bodies in fire. Okay, we've got 10 in earth, we've got 3 in air, and 5 in water. So we see the elemental balance of water and air is you know, not in equilibrium with fire and earth, right? So I told you fire and earth are very dry. Fire is hot, earth is cold. Okay, now water is hot and cold. Water is hot because water connects, and fire is hot, whereas air and earth are cold. Okay, and now water is cold, sorry, air is hot, right? Like fire is hot. Okay, now the elemental balance tells me that we need to touch base with communication, because there is communication and ideation. So there could be a challenge that can arise with communication. Now when Mercury goes into Scorpio, Mercury becomes more Martian. Mercury is the collective mind, how we communicate. So oftentimes Mercury could cut and burn and scathe like Mars when it comes to communication. And Mercury is also having this very Uranian influence that I'll get to in a bit. If you're feeling extremely enervated, that is dull or weak, or no energy, if you're feeling extremely enervated, try homeopathic remedy Kali Phos, okay, which is basically nothing but potassium phosphate. Astrology suggests certain salts for you to intake. And during an Aries lunation, the best salt you can intake is potassium phosphate, or in homeopathy it's called Kali Phos. So check that out if you're feeling extremely dull or upset or angry. This is going to balance your whole internal system. Now the sun and the moon are both heading towards a square with Jupiter, and that exacts on Thursday. Okay, Jupiter is in detriment in Capricorn, remember, but Jupiter is direct, thankfully, right? As I make this video, within a few hours actually Saturn stations direct, so there's a lot of direct energy finally moving forward. 2020 has been sort of like a very interesting year, if I may say. We don't need to just blame 2020, because I love the memes that circulate, like 2020 share, 2020 get out, but who knows what 2021 is going to bring, right? That's something to think about. Now we've got now the backdrop of the lunation is very important. The backdrop, the basic energy of the what's happening in the background is Mercury square Uranus. Uranus is in Taurus, Mercury is in Scorpio. Uranus is the spiritual mind, epiphanies, abstract, aha moments, abrupt aha moments, stuff like that. And Mercury is our mind. So Mercury opposite Uranus can mean opening up of the mind in a way that, it can be very profound, can be very, can be a lot about freedom. And the themes of freedom will play dominantly in that, okay, with Mercury opposite Uranus in the fixed signs of Scorpio and Taurus. So you always have to take the modalities into consideration. And we know that Uranus is in fall position in Taurus. Uranus is actually exalted in Scorpio. Okay. Now, moving on to Venus. Venus is in Leo, like I said, trining Mars. Okay, but this is a separating aspect. So we've already felt the trine moment happen when this lunation takes place, and they're separating after that powerful exchange of energy through a trine. Trines are generally harmonious, but not always. Like I keep saying, trines do not always need to be harmonious. Okay. Now, Aries domicile ruler is Mars. The Triplicity ruler of this relation is Mars. And Mars has two huge aspects. Mars is squaring Saturn, and Mars is squaring Pluto. Okay, so Mars square Saturn is separating. Mars square Pluto is applying. So applying aspects are really the key to understanding what is coming. Separating aspects are the key to understanding what came and how we behaved with it, how we dealt with it, if dealing is even the correct word for this, okay? Another very interesting thing is that Mars is contra parallel Neptune, okay? And this is so beautiful because this brings out mysticism, an interest in the occult, an interest in spirituality, an interest in imagination, fantasy, role play. Neptune is the higher octave of Venus, so that's very beautiful. So there could be a very sexual touch to this also, with that Mars with Pluto, about to connect to Pluto, that Mars already trining that Venus, and this being such a powerful Martian lunation is very libidinal, okay? But this Mars contra parallel Neptune can be, us losing our common sense or losing our practical knowledge, if you ask me the truth, okay? It's gonna be chaotic, to be sure, very chaotic. And we may find ourselves chasing after delusions or fantasies that actually have no bearing in real life. And we may find ourselves chasing such fantasies with that Mars contra parallel Neptune. Now let us try and meditate on Mars, because Mars is the domicile ruler, Mars is the triplicity ruler. So Mars is hot, masculine, okay, fiery, dry, extremely dry. Saturn is extremely cold, and I've told you that the thing about malefics is they tend towards extremes, whereas the fortunes tend towards moderation. That's why they're fortunate. That's why dealing with Mars is so difficult, because Mars is always working with extremes like Saturn. Okay, now so there could be, and Mars, the taste Mars rules is bitter. So having garlic during this lunation first thing in the morning, 6 cloves of garlic roasted and flushing it down with 1.5 liters of lukewarm water can be very effective remedy. Do not eat really junk food or too much dairy, because Mars rule lunations can increase pitta imbalance or heat imbalance in the body. Told you how there are 3 imbalances: pitta, vata, kapha. Vata imbalances are air related, kapha imbalances are water related. Okay, I do something called Nadi Pariksha, whereby I check your pulse and I can tell you what imbalances you have. Other than just looking at your chart, I also do Nadi Pariksha. And Nadi Pariksha actually reveals to you how to achieve elemental balance. Too much of water retention, kapha imbalance. Too much of flatulence, gaseousness, vata imbalance. Too much of, belching, dyspepsia, unable to digest your food is pitta imbalance. Extreme heat. You need coconut water, not Pepsi or Thumbs Up or aerated drinks at all. Stay away from all of that, okay? Now, there could be fires, literally burning up of the earth, of our physical bodies. You could literally be feeling like burning up, okay? There could be a warm sensation right behind your eyes, and you feel like eyes are getting very, very hot. Lie down with an ice pack is my suggestion. Fires can happen, and infections are definitely going to be on the surge, with this Mars again heading towards an applying square with Pluto in Capricorn. Okay, and Mars is in Aries, and this is cardinality. There's a lot of flux, but there's not much adaptability, right? So abrupt things can happen. That Mercury is also opposite that Uranus. That Mars is separating from a square with Saturn, moving to a square with Pluto. That Mars is contra parallel Neptune. So things are nebulous, as well as abrupt things can happen that can really shock us. Okay, Uranus achieves the stimulation of the mind through shocks, abrupt shocks, sudden things that happen to us. Also another interesting thing, significations of Mars according to Vattia's valence, and these are the negative significations of Mars: bad companionship, immorality, wickedness. All of these are some of the bad significations of Mars. And when Mars is going retrograde, and don't forget Pluto is the higher octave of Mars. So in a sense, Pluto can exacerbate all of these negative connotations. It all depends on what vibe you're tuning into. Stay away from immorality, wicked companions, any form of wickedness that you will regret later on. For when you have a Mars retrograde in a particular sign and you have a full moon in that sign, there could be a propensity towards evil. So this is a way to really understand, okay, this is what could happen, let me stay away from it. Cheating could happen as well. Okay, now sorry, if you feel you need balance, then you can always do a very powerful mantra, Bij mantra of Mangal, or Kuja as he is known in Vedic astrology, or Mars. Okay, and his chant is Om Krang Kreen Sah Mangalaya Namaha. I often teach my students and my clients to do small little havans at home if they can manage. So if you're doing a havan, get in touch with me to learn more, but don't say Namaha, say Swaha. So Om Krang Kreen Krong Sah Mangalaya Swaha. When you put the you make a fire with cow dung cake and little woods, little wooden cuttings, you make a fire, and then you take your offerings and you put it in and you say Om Krang Kreen Krong Sah Mangalaya Swaha in the fire. You can give whatever offerings you want to give to Mars. He has his herbs, he has his plants, he has his fruits, he has all of that. So whatever offering you are giving, if you make a fire, you just need to say Om Krang Kreen Krong Sah Mangalaya Swaha. If you are doing it as a mantra to create a energetic protection around you, you need to say Om Krang Kreen Krong Sah Mangalaya Namaha. Okay, that's the difference. Now Mars, also of course invocation of Bagalamukhi mantra and Bagalamukhi worship can keep you away from all immorality and wickedness during this time. So Mars meets Aries right after this lunation. So we are sort of already feeling that Mars and Aries interaction that's about to take place, because Aries has been in Aries for very, very long. Okay, now let us understand a bit more about Aries, the dwarf planet. So Aries basically throws a golden apple, okay, at the wedding, which basically started the Trojan War. Okay, so Aries is known as the goddess of discordia or discord. Okay, and now oftentimes she's known as the sister of Mars. Okay, or Aries, Ares. And like I said, she's the goddess of discordia. She's also known as a she-demon, like Lilith. Oftentimes people say that Aries is a she-demon, right? Basically, what you need to understand about the archetype of Aries is she is the anger that stems up when one is not invited, okay, and not being included. Aries was really upset that why was she not invited? Why was she not included in this wedding, right? She had a right to be there. Now, this was a wedding of Thetis and Peleus, of course. Now, this anger of Aries, it sort of reminds me of Shiva's anger, because Sati, Shiva's wife or Parvati, was not invited to Daksha Yagya. Okay, Daksha Yagya is Daksha is her father, basically Sati's father, and he makes a huge Ashwamedha Yagya, and he invites all the gods and all the celestial beings, but he does not invite his own daughter because he does not like Shiva. So then Sati still insists on going, and she goes, and then she is insulted so badly there that she self-immolates. And then comes Shiva, And then he sees Sati's dead body, and he sort of starts doing the Tandav. Now, if you know anything about Hindu scriptures, you know when Shiva dances the Tandav, there is the time for Pralaya, or complete dissolution of matter. So Shiva should never start the Tandav before it is time. So Vishnu literally has to take the Sudarshan chakra and throw it at Sati's body and cut her up. Sorry, I think I said she self-immolated. She doesn't. That is Sita. Sita goes into the Agni. Again, another instance of a woman being scorned when she's not at all to be blamed. But Sati basically dies and her body is intact, but the Sudarshan chakra of Vishnu cuts her body because Shiva's, holding her body and doing the Tandav. And all the clouds of Pralaya have gathered and he's beating his Damru. The sound of Shiva's Damru, it signifies the end of a Manvantara, or end of a cycle of Manvantaric manifestation. So the anger of Aries, in a way, also is the anger of Shiva. And the Tandav, the Tandav at not being invited. But Shiva was not upset of not being invited. He actually told Sati, don't go, don't bother going. But she wanted to go because it was her father. Anyway, got carried away there. But listen. So Aries is the anger stemming from the psyche at not being included. When one is not included and when one sees people gathering, people coming together and you're the only one not invited, your psyche releases, anger. There's this deep-seated anger that can fester and fester and fester, right? Till one starts their own personal Tandav. Aries is also the anger that stems from when one is ignored or when one is not acknowledged, especially women and mothers and wives and the way they go around and they're never really acknowledged. That, okay? Now, Aries actually moved into Aries in 1925. So, this is a really long time, right? And some say that she's the daughter of Zeus and Hera, Zeus being Jupiter, right? And Jupiter's in Capricorn. Again, an exaltation of Mars. Bam! That's connection there, you see? And some, like I said, some also say that she's a sister of Mars, right? But she is mostly Nyx's daughter. And Nyx is the dark night. What is the dark night? The unknown. Why is Kali black like the dark night? Because Kali is the unknown. Okay. Now, let's try and analyze this archetype of the uninvited. I told you about Sati and her not being invited and her finally committing suicide and Shiva's Tandav. But recent times I watched this film called The Joker, and I I saw Joaquin Phoenix literally create magic on celluloid. I'm a cinema buff, I'm a cineasta. And that physicality that he brings to the archetype of the uninvited and the ignored, it just blew me away, the Joker. So in modern times, the Joker is a very good example of the archetype of Aries. And when you do not invite, when you leave someone out. Okay. Think of the dance that Joaquin Phoenix does. After that when he escapes and he's on the stairs and he's doing the dance. Even in in the washroom, and he starts doing that dance, that very, psychotic, yet, cathartic, yet, being uninvited, unaccepted, unwanted, made fun of. Just blew me away. The dance of the Joker is very emblematic of the archetype of Aries. Okay, if Aries could do a dance, I guess she would do a similar dance like the Joker. Now on October 13, Mars retrograde opposes the Sun at the halfway point of the retrograde cycle. Okay, 13th of October. So this is the midpoint of Mars retrograde, and it's important to understand that because Mars is so important in this lunation, right? And Mercury also stations retrograde in a few days, right? And the tarot for the first decan of Aries is actually Two of Wands. Two of Wands is what Crowley calls dominion in the Thoth tarot, right? Now decan when, as I said, ruled by Mars, Aries, Triplicity. Now this term, like I said, that there are 50 terms. So this term belongs to Venus because the first 6 belong to Jupiter. The next 6 belongs to Venus. So this term is under Venus. Remember I was saying it's very important. Venus is at 29 degrees almost in Leo. She's also in a fire sign. So that gives it that fiery feel, you know. So if you're born in this degree and on this term of Venus, it makes the native cheerful, clever, handsome, pure, radiant. Always Aries has some radiance in them. Of course, day chart, night chart, you've got to look at all of that. You've got to see if Mars is combust or Mars is with Saturn or Ketu, all of that. Now if you look at the sign of Aries, it is the exaltation of the Sun. Like I said, it is ruled by Mars, and it is the fall of Saturn. Why? Because Saturn is exalted in Libra. So Aries is a sign in which Saturn falls. So Saturn has no power in this sign. That's also a very key ingredient to understanding the archetype of Aries. You must understand which planets are in fall. So then you look at the archetype of Saturn and you try to, understand and meditate on why it is in fall in Aries. I do that. That's how I taught myself astrology. So another thing to remember is Venus releases the body parts of the sign she's traveling in. So Venus is going through Leo. Okay, and so she's going to be releasing, making the heart weak. So that's something to think about. Take care of your heart this time. Eat correctly. Pitta imbalance if you have corrected. Copper jar water can be very, very healing if you know what copper jar water is. If not, you can Google it or just give me an email and I'll explain it to you. Now let's understand the archetype of Aries through the eyes of Babylonian astrology. We've spoken about Vedic, we've spoken about Hellenistic astrology. Now let's get to the Babylonian side. As a syncretist, this is my offering to you. Because studying various systems, I bring to you the interesting commonalities that stand out. In Babylonian astrology, Aries is known as the hired man. Yes, a man who works and feels as somebody you can hire to get work done. And the regent of the hired man is DUMUZI. DUMUZI is the husband of Inanna, right? And and he's known as the shepherd god. Okay, so the shepherd god DUMUZI is basically a symbol of the spirit of life, or the Jivatman in Vedic understanding. The Jivatman. DUMUZI is the Jivatman, right? Now, his myths basically circulate around his courtship, his springtime courtship with Inanna. Aries, springtime in the northern hemisphere, right? And ultimately these courtship rituals, this culminates into the Hieros Kamos, or the sacred alchemical marriage or wedding. which is also known as Maithuna in Tantra, right? So oftentimes the king would play the role of DUMUZI, and the priestesses of the sacred horse would play the role of Inanna, and there would be a symbolic marriage, and this symbolic marriage is an emblem of security. The sacred marriage is a symbol of everything sacred, you know, the everything flourishing, love, peace, acceptance. Now the sun is quincunx Uranus. Okay, the sun is quincunx Uranus. Uranus is in fall, the sun is in fall position. And although the sun is exalted in Aries, where Luna sits. Okay, so Luna is quite friendly with Venus, so she does quite okay in Venus signs actually. But that Libra is diurnal. So literally Luna does not function very well in diurnal signs. Okay. Now let's get down to analyzing the Sabian symbols. So the first Sabian symbol, sorry, I missed out some. Now what I wanted to tell you is, if you are doing astrological magic, even if you're trying, you don't have to be a great expert at it. You can just, 15 years ago, I just started doing astrological magic the Vedic way, and then I finally found all these astrological magic texts and the Pico tricks, and I just started on it. So you can do that too, but just remember that the moon or Luna should be nowhere near Saturn or Mars, okay, and she should not be combust. Now if you're doing baleful magic, magic of discordia, magic of hate and maleficence, then make sure that Luna is combust and or conjunct the malefics. That's how you do baneful magic, right? Now this is happening in the 27th Manzil. Now there's a lot of discrepancy as to whether we are going to take the sidereal calculation when looking at Manzils or what. Some people look at the Manzils with the tropical placement, but what I have done this time, I've gone back to calculating exactly the 26 degrees difference and telling you that this is, although if you really look at the original text, the Aries is the first Manzil, but because of the precession of the equinox, this lunation is now falling in the 27th Manzil. Okay, now the 27th Manzil is called FARGH or THANI. Now the Pico trick says, marry, take medicines, pursue business, do not travel or lend money. Now the energy of this Manzil increases business, increases profit, unites allies, heals illnesses. So this Manzil has got a very powerful healing ability to it. Increases harvests and destroys riches. So baleful magic can be done here too, whereas you can destroy someone's riches, or you can impede the building of structures and buildings. Okay, you don't want a building to be built. This is the Manzil where you need to do that magic. Okay, now Sabian symbols. We've done the Manzil, we've done that. I was actually going to show you the two of wands. So I got this really beautiful little thing that I wanted to show you guys. Got an amethyst bottle, which is so pretty actually. So I thought that I'm going to wear it in front of you guys because like I said, this donation is and it looks like it's torn. Great. I have to fix it, but it's actually